Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. I had a pretty good week. Up until today, I've had a pretty good week and it's been a very productive week. I had a lot to do, which kind of interfered with one of my projects. I was a little worried about it. I'll get to that later, but I had a lot of work to do this week. I had to finish up the items for my October mystery club. I had to work on the yarn plus the other items that I am making for the advent calendar that I am working on with Pretty Little Yarns. I will add in here, if you've been thinking about picking up an advent calendar for the holiday season, she is putting them together over this next week and she has 2 left. So you can go to her website, I'll have it linked below and it will have all the details. She's offering half calendars, so 12-day calendars, and then also full calendars for 24 days. And I am dyeing the Muppets Family Christmas theme. The other dyer is Lake Knit Yarns and she is dyeing the 4 Realms, the Nutcracker in the 4 Realms. I think that's the movie that she picked and she is dyeing for that theme. So again, I will link that below if you've been thinking about picking up an advent calendar. So I had that to do, I had my club shipments, and there was something else I was working on too. It just seemed like a very busy week. I didn't have a lot of knitting time, but I've been feeling pretty good, so I was able to get it done. Now, of course, all that's done and now we're at today, and honestly, I'm not feeling so great today. So if my energy is a little bit low, that is why. I've been finding that's the case, is that I'll have a few days of really, really good energy and just feeling really good, and then I'll have a few days where I just feel like poop. So today's a poopy day, but we are going to push through because I have lots of things to share with you. I honestly thought up until like 2 days ago that I would have like nothing to share with you, but apparently a lot can be accomplished in 24 hours. So I actually have a pretty full table. So what do I have for you today? I have one major finished object, and then I have a whole bunch of little tiny finished objects that I've been able to get done as well. And then I have a new project that I cast on. I also want to do my monthly wrap up. So what were my goals for October? What did I accomplish from them? What didn't I accomplish? And also what my mini goals for November will be. And then I thought it would be fun to also do a little bingo update. We are in November. Where has the year gone? I say this every year when school starts in September, that's basically the end of the year. As soon as school starts, the rest of the months just whiz by. We are in November now, and 2 more months and the year is done. And yeah, like, it's basically Halloween is over. Halloween was yesterday, and pretty soon we're all going to be in like holiday prep crazy mode. So I thought it might be fun to do a bingo update just to see where I am with 2 months left, what I have left to accomplish. Am I going to be able to do it? I did mention, I think in the last 2 episodes, that I allowed the opportunity in the Blinger String group for the Crafty Bingo Challenge to change up some goals. I did take advantage of that, so I can show you those on my card now as well. So we are going to be doing all of that, so let's get started. Now, before I get started with any knitting, I also wanted to announce this month's winner. So if you are a new viewer, every month I take all the comments on any video from that month, and those count as an entry. And then any purchases made in my shop, each item purchased, also counts as an entry. I take all those entries at the end of the month. I random number generate one winner, and then that person wins a $20 coupon to use in my shop. It's my way of saying thank you for supporting my channel, supporting my shop, and just engaging, and just making this overall just a fun experience for me as well. So I drew the winner for October, and it was a YouTube comment, and the winner is Nancy Morales. And congratulations, Nancy! You started commenting this month. I think I noticed a few comments from you, and the number generator picked one of your comments. So you can either contact me through Ravelry, or you can go to my website. There's a contact button somewhere at the bottom, and I can get you set up with your coupon. So let's get started with the knitting. I'm going to start with what I am drinking today, and it is not coffee. I was all set planning to pick out another flavor of my Bones coffee, but I have something else. Dennis this week went on a business trip over to the UK, and he brought me back a little present. He brought me back this little tea sampler here. So I thought that was fun. He knows I like tea. So Penny, you'll have to tell me if you're familiar with these and if this is a good tea or not. I'm pretty sure he just found it in like a gift shop or not. But I picked one of those teas, and that is what I am having today. And so far it's pretty tasty. I found the description on it pretty amusing. It's this one here, this last one. That's what I decided to pick. It had the most interesting description. It was, "This golden tip tea is sweet and malty, scrumptious with jam and crumpets." And unfortunately, I do not have any jam and crumpets, but I have been enjoying it just by itself. So that is what I will be drinking today. We've done the monthly winner. So let's get started with, I think I'm going to start with my knitting finished object, which will kind of roll into my new project, and then we'll go into kind of the other items. And if you can guess what that finished object is, oh my goodness, guys, I think this is the first month where there was a few moments where I did not think I was going to finish these. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen that I finished my October Desert Vista Dye Works socks. Thank goodness. So I think last week I had told you that I was still on the first sock. I didn't work on them at all the previous week. And I was still on the first sock, and I was somewhere on the foot. I was incorrect. If you remember, I ripped back because I wanted to change the heel. So I had ripped back to restart the heel, and I was actually not even at, I was still somewhere up here where I was increasing for the heel. So less than like a week to go before the end of the month, and I was only about halfway done the first sock. So I was able to get that done, I think, Tuesday. So Tuesday night, Avery had 2 activities. We usually don't have her in 2 activities in one night, but her she's in swimming lessons, and then she's also in Little Ninjas, which is kind of like a martial arts and obstacle course type thing. It's like a combination. She really likes it. It's a combination thing. She loves it. It gets her energy out. She gets to climb things. It's wonderful. But that's usually on Thursdays. And this Thursday of this week was Halloween. So the instructor said that she could come to a different class that week. And it just happened to be the same night as her swimming lessons. So we went to swimming lessons, and I was able to finish off the toe of the first sock and Kitchener that up. And then within 30 minutes, we were at Ninjas, and I was able to cast on the second sock. So this is the second sock here, and you'll see all these little markers. Because I was kind of in a time crunch, I thought it would be fun to mark my progress as I went, keeping track of mostly time. So every hour, any time I had a good hour that I worked on them, I marked it with a little marker, because I just wanted to see my progress. I wanted to see how much I could get done in an hour, just so that I could kind of mentally make sure that I at least had the chance to finish them by the end of the month. So at the end of the session, her ninja session on Tuesday night, I was right here. So this is how much I finished in the hour that she was at Little Ninjas. And then I think we got home, and I think her bedtime was pretty soon after that, so I didn't really work on it much then. But once she was in bed, I think I was able to put another hour in there. And then the next day, so Wednesday, I still had a lot of work to do for the advent calendar, but I was able to finish that up by around 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I had about 2 hours before she got home from school. So that's where you see maybe up till there. I was able to get there when she was, until she got home from school. So this is Wednesday. This is the day before the end of the month. And I remember bedtime was around here. I think by the time I went to bed Wednesday night, I was maybe around here. So Thursday, the last day of the month, I had the entire foot to do. Now, I measured one of the distances between the markers when I knew I worked on it for a good solid hour, and it was just at about 2 inches. So as of Thursday morning, I measured how much left I had to do to finish the sock, and I figured with what I could do for an hour, I had to put in about 3 hours or so, 3 to 4 hours, depending on if I got distracted, to get to the end of the sock. So as of Thursday morning, I was feeling pretty confident that I'd be able to get it done. I had all my work done by yesterday, so I knew I could just sit and work on my sock. Also, it was Halloween, so Avery would be out in the evening. So it was at that point that I finally felt like, okay, I can do this. Up until that point, I was starting to think that this was going to be the month that I was done. I was done 2 months shy of the end of the year, and I would be done. But I was able to do it. So I worked on it for the rest of Thursday evening, and while they were out trick-or-treating at around 6:30, I finished off the toe. So it's not even like it was my closest to the end. I've had some months where it's been pretty close to the deadline that I finished. Even last month, September, when it was a really busy month, I think I finished around 8 o'clock or so. So this actually wasn't my worst month in terms of like how close to the deadline I was, but it was the first month that up to a certain point, I really didn't think I was going to finish. I don't want to do that again. Okay, so we need, especially for November, I've got my socks started. I'll show you those in a minute. But I need to make sure that I get that first sock done well in advance so that I have plenty of time for that second sock. There was a couple of things that kind of worked against me in completing this set in my usual time frame. First, it is an entire ribbed sock. So if I had done a stockinette sock, I think it would have gone a lot faster. The second thing that kind of worked against me is that I was down the foot when I decided I wanted to change the heel, so I lost quite a bit of progress when I ripped that out. And then the third thing that kind of worked against me, actually there was, the 3 and 4 are kind of similar. So if you remember when I went to Woodstock, we had a big long drive. We had a 3-hour drive there and a 3-hour long drive back, and I didn't knit at all. If I had been able to knit a little bit during those trips, I think I would have been a little further ahead. And then also, if you remember last week, I didn't work on them at all, so that kind of put me behind too. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff this month that made it so that it was really quite a last minute finish. But they are done, so I think I've mentioned this before, but it might be a while. I'm making these for Avery's bus driver, her morning bus driver, so they are going to be her Christmas gift. I base this heel pattern. This heel has kind of become my vanilla go-to heel, along with the German short row heel, depending on who I'm making them for. I did decide to change it to this heel because I find it's a very forgiving heel in terms of fit, and I don't know anything other than the size. I don't know anything about her bus driver's feet other than what size they are, so I decided this would probably be a safer heel to go with. That's the other reason why I did them all ribbed, so that they would just hopefully fit really nicely. And then so I did my standard 81 stitch cast on, and then after the heel, you can see right in this area here, after I finished the heel, I decreased down to more around 70 stitches for the foot. Just I want to make sure they're really comfortable. And but they are done. They are done. This is the colorway Puff the Magic Dragon, and I am so glad they're done. Another thing that I was worried about with finishing these socks is that as I was knitting that second sock, the yarn that I had was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was like, oh my goodness, please don't tell me I'm going to run out of yarn. This is all I have left from that ball. I don't even know if this is enough to put in my mitered square blanket, but I am going to try. And the reason for that is I was putting together one of my Advent swaps, and I had to get it out last week. I had to mail it, and so I had pulled 10 grams from the cake before I finished the sock. I usually have way more than 10 grams left after I finish a pair, so I didn't think it would be a big deal, but as we were getting to the toe, I was starting to get a little worried, but I did finish it. I might have to add in another yarn to finish off my mitered square, because I do want to put those in my mitered square blanket. So the next project I'm going to share with you before I get to my other objects that I finished this week are my November Desert Vista dyework socks. I made sure to cast these on today because I want to get them started. I didn't want to leave them sitting for a few days without starting them and then delaying just delaying them getting done. I really, really would like to have these done as an early finish this month, just so I don't have to worry about them. So the color that I decided to pick is this one here. This is called Brisbane, and this one is one of the skeins that I picked. I think I mentioned a while ago how sometime in August she had her anniversary event where all her colors were available at once, and I went through and I picked out 3 colors, and this was one of them. And I just really, really, really like the colors. These are kind of the colors that I'm drawn to with yarn. It's kind of these sunset colors. And so I picked this out, and I've decided to make these for Avery's teacher for Christmas. So I made her some socks for the end of the year. Last year she really, really liked them, and so I want to make her a pair for Christmas this year, and I just thought this was a really pretty color combination to use. So I cast them on this morning. Today is the 1st, so I was able to cast them on, get them started. I don't have very much done, but that's okay. They're started, and now I can just work on them. So this is what I have here. You can see I just have a few rows done. Here is the little gap from my cast on. I've mentioned before how I like to cast my socks on flat and then do 3 rows of ribbing and then join it. I find it helps in not twisting the stitches when you join. It just makes it easier, and then also there is just a little space here. I can either leave it open if I want them to be kind of less tight at the top, or I can close that up if I'm not worried about that part. So this is what I have done, just a few rows. I'm doing my usual 2x1 rib, 81 stitches. I think what I'm going to do, I don't think I'm going to do a fully ribbed sock for this pair. I'm probably going to do a fairly long cuff. I might go back to the Jangles pattern and have a look at that one. That's the pattern that I based that heel on, and I did back in February. I followed the pattern exactly, and I believe it has a bit of ribbing going down the side of the sock, so part of it is stockinette and part of it is ribbed. So I might go back and just refer to that pattern and make it a little closer to the original pattern. Since then I've kind of modified it, and I just kind of use it as a recipe just to kind of do whatever I'm feeling like in the moment. So I'm starting with the cuff, and then I might go back and just have a look at the pattern, and then follow it a little more closely than I have over the last couple of months. So that is my plan. I do want some ribbing, but I don't want to do a full rib sock again. And the ones that I made her in June, those fit her. She said they fit her very well. So I might just even go back to look at my notes for that pair and just see what I did. So that is my only new cast on for this week. I expect next week will I have some other ones? Maybe. We'll have to see. But for this week, that is my only cast on. So now I have the other projects that I worked on. And one of those was finishing up Avery's Halloween costume. So last week I showed you that I had finished her little pants. So she decided that she wanted to be a leopard for Halloween. We had gone out to a Halloween pop-up shop, and she picked out this little set that had like a mask and these little fingerless mitts and a tail. And so I just needed to make something so the rest of her body would look a little more leopard-like. So I had shown you these pants that I made just by picking up some leopard print fleece. You can see we still have the tail from the set pinned on there. So I had finished these pants. Those were done. So this week I had to finish the top part, and then I also wanted to do a little hat, because all week we were just getting warning after warning after warning that we were going to get this major storm on Thursday. I kept looking at it every day to see if it was changing, and it wasn't. It was just calling for like 30 millimeters of rain all day, you know, bad weather, winds, all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, of course, every year on Halloween it's got to be really bad weather. But it didn't end up changing. Now I will say that while it did rain all day, up until they went out for trick-or-treating, it was just rain. I was worried that it would get to the point where it was just like pouring down, or like really bad winds, or just really unpleasant conditions to be out. But it was just kind of like a pretty consistent rain. So they did go out. They were out for a fair bit, but I am super glad that she was wearing basically like this fleece suit, because she was perfectly toasty. So I think I'll show you the hat first, because that's the easiest thing. This is the little hat that I made. It's just a basic tube where I've pinched the ears. so that they kind of stick up when she wears them. I didn't even finish the insides. I literally cut a rectangle of fleece fabric. I seamed the sides, and then I fold, so that's, I didn't even see the edges aren't even done. That's the wonderful thing about fleece, is that it doesn't fray, so you just have to cut it and it just works. So I just folded up that, the bottom part there. So it's double layered, but I could just adjust it to fit her head. I made sure when I was cutting it that the stretchy part of the fleece was going widthwise so that it would conform around her head. But that was her little leopard hat. And then the other piece of the costume was the top part that was going to go over her jacket. And originally I wanted it to have sleeves so that it was going to be like a full leopard suit, but I didn't quite have enough fabric. So after I cut the pants, I cut the back of the, or I guess the front of the top part, and I cut the two sides because I was going to have it so that it would open up, kind of slip on, and then I would close it up on the back. And I didn't have enough fabric to do the sleeves. And I just decided, you know what, I don't want to go out and buy more fabric for a costume that's going to be worn for, 2 hours in the dark at night. No one's going to care if she has leopard sleeves. So I just went with what I had, and it was more like a little vest. I told Avery, I was like, are you okay if it's just more of like a little vest? And she was okay. So this is basically what I ended up doing, and it's going to look like just a big fabric blob. But I'll try and pop in a picture after I show you. You can see how the whole thing looked. So I took one of her winter jackets. No, I took one of her oversized, she has an oversized hoodie that she really likes to wear. I took that and kind of traced the shape of that on the fleece, and then I folded that in half to get the little sides. So you can see this is one of the little sides. There's the armhole and stuff. So that's where it's opened, and this is the front there. I was going to finish off the neckline. I was going to finish off the sleeve holes. I was going to finish off the hem. But once she tried it on over a black jacket that she has, I was like, you know what? Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care if the edges are finished. Like I said, fleece does not fray. It does not come apart. So if the edges are hemmed and everything, it's dark, it's rainy, no one is going to notice. So why put that extra time in for something that doesn't really matter? So I didn't end up doing that. It's completely unfinished, other than just being functional, like it fitting over her. But it worked perfectly fine. So I'm going to try and put in a picture here so you can see how everything looked together. She also had another little costume that she put together for school. She wanted to wear this one to school, and I was just like, Avery, I was like, this costume is not designed as an indoor school costume. Like, it's designed to go over your coat, over like pants, like over everything. So she went through all her bits and pieces in her playroom, and she ended up putting together a little costume for school. I'll pop that picture in here as well. She went as a fairy cat. But overall, I think everything went well. I think she had a really nice Halloween. Besides Christmas, Halloween is the holiday that she looks forward to the most. They were out for 2 hours in that weather. Usually they go out for about 3 hours, so the weather did affect, it must have affected their route, but she still had a really good day. She still had tons of fun at school and then afterwards, and she still came home with lots and lots of candy. So I'm glad I was able to get that done. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And then the other thing, so I had finished those Wednesday. I was still working on my socks, and then so once I finished my socks, like I said, I finished them around 6:30 on yesterday while they were out trick-or-treating. I was like, hey, I can work on some other things. I couldn't cast on my November socks yet because it wasn't the beginning of the month, but what I decided to do was to try and whip out a few more dishcloths. So one of my goals by the end of the year, one of my new goals, is to make 10 dishcloths to put together as different gifts and stuff, and I thought I could probably get 1 or 2 done in the hour or 2 that I had left of the day. So that is what I decided to do. I went through my little box of crafting cotton, my dishcloth cotton. I pulled one out and I made one of my kind of standard, I guess it goes this way with the way the direction of the rows, but I made one of my standard dishcloths. So I do not do fancy dishcloths. I just cast on, or I chain. This one I think I chained about 20 stitches. I use about a 5mm hook when I'm doing just the cotton ones. So I do about 20 chains, and then I do a single crochet all the way up until the height matches the width, and then I go around the border once with single crochet, and then I go around again with a slip stitch. So you can see that slip stitch there. That is just my basic dishcloth. And then I mentioned last week how I had picked up, when I was at my local fabric store, some of that scrubby dishcloth yarn, and I made another one combining the two. So I used that same cotton yarn, and then I held it together with the scrubby yarn, and this is what I've got here. So this one, because it's thicker, I think I used a 6.5mm hook, and I think I started with about 17 chains, and I just held the two together with the same thing, single crochets. I didn't do a border. I tried to do a border with just the cotton because I didn't want to do it with both. It's a little harder to work with when the two are held together, and I didn't like how that looked, so I just ripped it out and I left it. So the edges are more unfinished than with doing the border, but I think it is fine. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see the texture at all if I put, okay, we'll put it in front of Grumpy Cat there. If you can see the little bits kind of sticking up, that's like, it's like this polyester yarn that's kind of, it's not scratchy, like it's not super scratchy, but it's just enough that it acts as a kind of like a scrubby material for when you're doing your dishes. So I like to do, what I'd like to do is make them sets like this. So if I give them as a gift, they get one regular dishcloth, one scrubby dishcloth. So I was able to get 2 of those done, and I think that is it for all my actual crafting for this week. So next we are going to talk about my goals. So my mini goals that I made for October, which of the goals I made did I complete, which didn't I complete, and then which goals I would like to make for November. So I've scooched over a little bit so I could insert a picture of the items that I finished this month, and let's talk about what my goals were. So my goals for October were to finish my October DVD socks, which thank goodness I did. My next goal was to finish the 4th pair of socks for Dennis that I've been working on. I didn't. I have the 1 sock done, and then I have the 2nd sock started. But yeah, I didn't finish that 2nd sock, so I didn't finish that goal. My 3rd goal was to finish the porthole cardigan, which I did. My next goal was to work on my Cumulus blouse sweater. I didn't even touch it. We're going to have to get back to that because I actually do want to finish it. I was thinking the other day, I was like, okay, is this a project that I want to finish, or do I need to do something about it? But no, I want to finish it, so I want to work on it. And then my last goal was to do 2 dishcloths this month, which I did. I've completed 3 dishcloths this month. And then I had a bonus object where I finished the little hedgehog that went with the porthole cardigan. So my goals for November. Now, when I was sitting down and working on these, at first I had 5 goals, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I thought of some other things that I just had to add, and at this point, my list is a little bit long. We're going to have to see if it might be a stretch, but I decided to leave it. These are all things that I would really like to do this month. Hopefully time and energy and just life will allow for me to work on these items because I really would like to do them. So my mini goals for November are to finish my November DVD socks. That has to happen. 2 months left. I can't give up now, so those are going to happen. Finish Dennis's socks. I only have, part of the 2nd sock to go. It's on slightly bigger needles. It's just a plain sock. I should be able to do that. I want to cast on my linger here. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I shared the test knit that I was doing for Stephanie Lotvin, and I just had to order some yarn, and I finally ordered that yarn. So once it arrives, I can cast that on. I want to get that started, and I put in brackets that potentially finish the body. The test knit is due in December, so technically I want to do more than just cast it on. I want to get a good portion of it done. If I could finish the body, that would be awesome. So I want to get that project going. I want to work on my Cumulus blouse. So again, it would be lovely if I finished the body. I think that's a little unrealistic though, so I just want to put some work into it. I just want to work on that project again. I'm on the body, it's just stockinette in the round. It would be a really good project to bring around if I'm out and about and I need to knit on something, so I just want to work on that. The next goal I have is to start the cross stitch project that I want to do. That's one of my goals on my bingo card. I'll show you in a moment that I ended up changing that up a little bit, and so there is a pattern on Etsy that I really like that I want to do, and I just want to get that started. The two that I added, so I thought that was it. I thought that's where I was going to leave it. And then the two that I added were to cast on Avery's Christmas sweater. So last year I made her a sweater for Christmas. I want to do that again this year. And I don't want to leave that to December. So I anticipate it being a pretty quick knit, but I want to at least just start it. Get the yarn and start it this month. And then finally, I almost forgot about my exploration station because I didn't work on it at all this week, but I'm really enjoying that project. I almost completely forgot about it, so I added in the goal that I want to do 2 more sections of my exploration station. So I'm almost done the wedge section. I have I think next is the brioche section, and then the slip stitch, and then there's the garter, and then the lace. So I want to finish both the brioche and the slip stitch section by the end of November. So those are my goals, and now I'm staying over here because we are going to do a bingo update. So I'm going to pop up my bingo card as it stands right now, and we are just going to go through my remaining goals and see what I have left and what I think I can still get done and what I'm probably going to have to abandon. There are some that I just think I'm not going to finish. So I'm going to put that up and we are going to have a little chat. So the first one at the top that you can see that is still yet to be finished is to finish 5 adult garments. This is one that I honestly think is just not going to happen. So I finished 2 so far. I need to finish the linger here, so that would be 3. Even if I can finish the cumulus blouse by some miracle, that's still only 4. I do not see how I would be able to do a 5th. So that one is probably not going to get finished, but I will make some progress towards it. The next one in that row that is yet to be completed is to make a colorwork accessory. Originally, I had in mind doing this really nice doubled color work cowl. I don't think that's going to happen this year. It is a project that I'd like to do, but it might have to wait till next year. So in order to complete this goal, I'm thinking of doing something smaller. I mentioned that maybe I was going to do a hat or fingerless mitts for Avery's afternoon bus driver. If I can find a pattern that incorporates some simple color work, I could maybe do that, and then that would also apply to that square. So that one still might get done, just not the way that I originally had planned it. Going down to the next row, use 10 patterns acquired before 2019. I am at 9, so I only have 1 left to fill that box, and that could be filled by 3 projects that I am currently working on. So the exploration station, if I finish that first, that would apply. Also the cumulus blouse, that would apply, and then there's another one that I am working on. Is there another one that I'm working on or that I was thinking of starting on? I think it was that I was thinking of starting. So going back to wanting to cast on a sweater for Avery for Christmas, I went through my library and I actually found one in a book, and I have it here. So this one here is in the book 60 Quick Knits for Kids. It's just this very simple kind of kangaroo pocket hoodie that uses chunky yarn. If I were to finish that before all the other projects, that would also apply to that goal because it is a pattern that I have in my library already. So that could apply. So I'm pretty sure that that box is going to get completed. The next one is complete 1 kit from Stash. I have a whole bunch of kits. Some are yarn. It just has to be a kit. So it could be a crafting kit. Doesn't have to be a knitting kit. I do have one in mind that I think would be a pretty quick finish. So I do think that I can still finish that box. Going down to the next row, figure out how my knitting machine works and make an item. I'd like to think I'm going to do that in December, but who knows. But yeah, I think I can. It's just if I have the time. Knit half circle shawl. So that is my exploration station. I'm pretty confident I'm going to finish that by the end of the year, so I should be able to finish that box. The next one is use 3 sock blanks from Stash. If I'm lucky, I might be able to use one more. I would really love to do another pair of those micro stripe socks that I made earlier this year. Those socks are the first pair of socks, like after I wash all my socks, those are the pair that I grab for first. I really, really like them, so I could see making another pair. I don't know if I'll get through 3 though. Next, make another faded garment. This was originally supposed to be a garment for myself. That is not going to happen. I'm thinking if I make that maybe a baby garment, that I could still finish off that box, because that would be a fairly quick knit. But there's no guarantees. I don't know if I'm going to be able to check that box off. Going down to the next row, make 10 dishcloths for Christmas gifts. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do that. They don't really take that long. As you can see, this week I was able to do 2 in an evening. So I think over the next 2 months I should be able to mark that goal off. The next one, knit at least 4 pairs of socks for Dennis. I'm on my 4th pair. I'm on the 2nd sock of that pair, so I should be able to knock that goal off. And then finally, make a cross-stitch project. So originally that was to make a retirement, so there was this saying about retirement and knitting, and I wanted to make that into a cross-stitch, and I'd have to design the pattern myself, and it's turned out to be more complicated than I'm willing to do. So when I had the opportunity to change up some goals, I changed that to just make a cross-stitch project. And there is a cross-stitch design on Etsy that I really, really like. And so my plan is to just purchase that pattern, make that design, and then I can mark that off. So I'm pretty sure that I will be able to mark that box off. So there is where we stand with my bingo update. As you can see, I'm probably not going to be able to get a full card, but honestly, I never expect to. I like this bingo challenge just as a way to motivate me and to kind of guide my projects. But I've never, in the couple of years that I've been doing this, I have never marked off a complete square. But there are lots of people in the group who are also participating that I think will totally mark off their cards. So that is really awesome. If you are participating in the bingo challenge, I would love to hear how you are doing. Please make sure that you're going over to the group and posting your updates. We are soon getting to the point where we are going to be posting all the links to the projects and stuff, so that I can calculate in December at some point. I'm going to have to calculate the entries and stuff like that. If you didn't participate this year but you want to participate next year, keep an eye on the group, head over there. Sometime in December I will probably be putting up a planning thread so that we can start thinking about what projects we want to work on for the coming year. But I think that is all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a lovely weekend filled with lots and lots of crafting, and I will talk to you soon.